much closer to what, or closer to what our normal monthly rent payment is.
And it's for 1 month only?
It is for 1 month only because the new tenant is scheduled. Their contract will be in effect to prepare for them to come in.
Anybody else? Need to vote?
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay.
Commissioner Casterline, there was a citizen to be heard. There was a citizen to be heard.
I just asked him, he's going to wait till
Thank you.
the agenda item, which is coming up. Somebody want to make a motion on
I
that?
move that we approve discussion of the use of hotel motel tax funds for use in marketing of the county.
Second.
Yeah, actually, the way it was written, I was kind of didn't really agree because we're not really voting.
I know it,
Won't vote until we close the.
but we'll at least discuss it.
So Jatim, you want to come up now? You were.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I'm sorry, Judge's not here. My name is Jatin Bhakta, 224 Reserve Lane. We spoke extensively during the workshop, and so I'm here to kind of just, reiterate a few things. I'm not sure what the motion was going to be, just like you, Commissioner Casterline, was confused on what was going to be voted on today. But I think the couple of points that I wanted to make was, the thing that the city has kind of moved forward with going to consolidating their marketing efforts among all the entities. And I'm not sure if that's what your agenda item is, but at a minimum, I think the understanding that I would hope that the commissioners would undertake is that to fund a study, a tourism study, and also to fund a geofencing that the city is going to start doing for this budget year.
I think that at least my take on our meeting was that we have an interest in that. We have had a legal question come up about whether we could be involved in geofencing. The county attorney found a law that just recently came into effect that concerns with people's privacy in relation to geofencing. So that part I think we'll have to talk to you about, but I think I think we're willing to listen to the study once we hear some numbers from the city. But the main crux of this meeting, I believe, is to go through the list of people that have made requests and try to give us some guidelines about what we think we will probably do on those.
Okay. That's all I had.
Jatin?
Yeah.
If we decide to go in with this, how much more is that going to let be available to the whole pot from sales tax? How are we going to be able to make sure that the money that we're sending now to the various areas, and I understand needing to look at that, everything, but if we put money into administering this area, that's going to take away from the money that we get. So who's going to end up being shorted? And I don't mean that derogatorily. It just seems to me like if you take another source from the pie, it makes the pie smaller.
And are you referring to the tourism study, or are you referring to just combining the marketing efforts?
Well, I think basically combining the marketing effort, because the looking at the study itself, that has a beginning and an end.
Right.
Okay. And that's an investment. Okay. But 2 years from now, if we join into a joint thing with the city and the county and everybody else that gets sales tax for this, if we get the hot funds money and we have to pay somebody to administer it, that's less for us to give out, as I understand it.
Yeah,
we're
your
really
pie,
careful on that.
right. Your pie still stays the same, or whatever your collections are. What you're doing and what the city's doing is basically taking the marketing aspect of it. So each entity, let's say it's, we have the art center here. If it was the art center and, 40% of their request was for marketing efforts, then that 40%, let's say it's just make everything easy. $100,000 was a request, 40,000 is for marketing. That 40,000 would now in turn not go to the Art Center. It would go to this marketing effort. That would be a consolidated effort. And so the Art Center would only be receiving $60,000 for their program and other things that qualify under hot tax. And so you would be removing the marketing aspect out of each of the entities that request it.
Okay, but who, I'm sorry, my voice is going on me. Who, if like the Art Center, for example, if they don't like the way the marketing thing is going, then they pull it out and market on their own, or are they by contract involved in this? Right now, whenever we give the money to the Art Center or to anybody, we leave the marketing up to them. If they want to use that money to go in with a collaboration with some the Maritime Museum or the Fulton Mansion or whoever, they have the right to do that. But
Yeah, and you would as well, right? If you decide that, hey, this isn't really working out for them and we want to give that money for the Art Center back, I would assume that if you do that, then you do it across the board. You wouldn't pick your winners and
I think
losers,
that the
right?
team in this with the cities, it's just in the kind of in the beginning stages. I mean, I think we're going to need them
Vanessa could probably
to
speak
come
to
and
that.
give us a little better pitch
yeah,
on it at some point in time. You know? I mean, I think what we kind of decided today, we're not really to jump.
No, and I understand your
into a marketing
hesitation.
Study and stuff, but at the
Right.
present time, we're not really ready to jump in everything. So
Yeah, no, I understand your hesitation. I'm sure there's a lot of things on the city side that they've got to work out. It's just that it's got to happen somewhere or another, whether it's mid-budget or at the start of a budget season, or you wait till next year. Either way, the commissioners are gonna have to address it somehow. Because when you dilute it, city is the biggest funder of hot tax to all of these entities. If they're moving this direction, if county gives somebody, let's say if it's the Art Center or the Chamber, if they get $50,000, well, you can't really use that for marketing now because $50,000, you're not going to be able to walk out that door and hire any company to do any marketing. So you either are going to have to reallocate that to say this will go toward the visitor center, or they have to pull out something and say, okay, we're only going to do a very limited marketing effort. But it's one of those things that, the city is the bigger contributor to all of these entities. If they move in that direction, then, the entities that you guys supply and fund are going to have to pivot and use and deal with a smaller budget. And if they can get that done for that amount, yeah, they're welcome to do that.
okay. Vanessa, have you got something? You can talk a lot too.
Good. Are we going to, just give me a minute. Commissioner Casterline and Vanessa, but are we going to limit people today to 5 minutes when they get up to talk?
That's probably a good idea.
Okay,
So I got 5 minutes to get the whole spiel in?
She
or
must have,
less.
she must have heard you talk before too.
No, I see a lot of faces here. Some of this is very
Don't start my clock yet.
detailed, and we're looking at minutia right now of something that hasn't even been proposed, and I really would rather we spend our time more efficiently.
I will keep it under 5 minutes.
Okay, and Colin will time.
So the judge just asked me to kind of explain what we were doing over at the city. You guys are not expected, I don't think, to make a decision on that at all. What we had is, last year we took in about $1 million of hot taxes. This year we had $1.6 million in requests. 700,000 of that was marketing. Over the years, council has continually asked everybody to consolidate their marketing. There's been some little efforts here and there. I know Shelley at the CVB had been working with the Art Center, so there's a little bit of progress made. What we're proposing is to take that 700,000 that was requested for marketing only, hire a full-time in-house marketing person that reports to a board, much like the Parks Board does. So I have an employee that reports to a board. And then they would market basically the entire city. So they're gonna market the events, they're gonna market the hotels, they're gonna market the coffee shops. It's gonna be a multi-tentacled octopus of marketing everything that goes on in this town. Now, You're still gonna get your hot funds to promote the arts, to promote history, historic structures, whatever the other categories are, those monies are not affected. It's just those marketing dollars that we're gonna take and consolidate. And then if someone wants to market above and beyond that, they can do whatever they want with their own money. The hot funds will be consolidated, but we also will have access to a professional marketing person. That's where we're headed. Of course, there's a board. We've reserved a spot on our ordinance that if you guys want to contribute your marketing dollars, you get a spot on the board that this professional reports to. You can or you don't have to. Either way, we're gonna go in that direction, but we gotta try something different. Our hot taxes are down, our sales taxes are down, so we're gonna try something different. If it doesn't work, we'll come back and we'll do something else different. But status quo, we don't think is gonna get us where we're needing to go. So that was 2 minutes. And I'll answer questions.
I think personally, I have a basic idea of it. You know, I probably know all I need to know for right now. Like say, I think the consensus is we're willing to look at a study to go in with y'all and contribute on that. We'll have to look at the geofencing deal because of the legal stuff that we
Sure.
just got. But other than that, we'll let y'all get started, I think. And
Yeah. Well, we
Go
figure
from
we're
there.
all in it together. So if you give me your
Yeah.
marketing dollars, great. If you don't, you're still gonna get marketed. We're one landmass. So we're gonna try to take care of everybody.
okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right. So I guess.
Commissioner, if I could, I would just like to say hypothetically, if they are going to fund a tourism study, if that is already drafted, adopted, drawn up, by the city of Rockport, it's, the mechanism for us to join in would be an interlocal agreement, which is, possible and allowable by law. If that's already, like, if it were a county project, Eric would be the one working with someone to.
Further into it, but I think
Right.
when they come up with something, they can come to us and we can get an interlocal.
Right. And so I,
Join in with them.
Right.
Okay. Well, when you get one, send it to Adela and
well, we bring it here so y'all could take a look at it to decide and then we could, but I just want to let you know, there is a mechanism for us to join,
Sure.
on that.
thank you. Okay, Rockport Center for the Arts. I think that y'all had actually requested a increase.
Yes,
I think
our
everybody else
request
can
was,
chime in, but I think our thought is we don't want to do any increases to
I totally
to
understand.
most of them,
Yeah.
but we were going to leave you all. at
We are in the
same.
4% allocation
Right,
anyway.
yeah.
And last year, this whole year, you helped us market the music series at the Rockport Conference Center. And that was the reason for that increase last year, sir.
And like I say, I think
Right.
if somebody else has a comment, that's
Well,
What
and
I
also
think we
too, I
can-
think, and the music concert takes place in the convention center.
Right,
But I think when we talked about it last year, it was to help promote the Rockport Convention Center and bring in groups or
right,
additional attendees here.
exactly.
And I think that's happened. You all have given us reports that have shown that there's been an increase. There continues to be growth there. And I would support, in addition to the 4%, another stipend to help with that Rockport Conference Center.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions from me?
I think so.
Thanks.
And next we got the Maritime Museum, and if they're here, we're kind of the same shape. They're the ones that we give a percentage to, and I think the inclination is to stay at that.
I was at a meeting over there yesterday on some other project and they are fine with that.
And then I don't know if we have anyone from the aquarium here. Kind of the same thing with them. Rockport Fulton Chamber of Commerce, says tourism on it. I think we're still undecided. Do anybody have any questions for them?
Good afternoon. The chamber is on board with this. All we ask is that we get funding to run the visitor center.
I think
So
we're,
that's our concern,
okay. I
because
think
we do
we've
have a
been
visitor
con-
center to run.
I think
and
we've been contemplating that and my guess is we're leaning that way. Anybody else?
Are there any questions?
Oh, I think you're doing a good job.
Friends of the Fulton Mansion, they're also on a percentage. You want to come up okay, I'll put us on sitting back there. They're also on the percentage, Le Mardi Gras. I think we put to raise them to $9,000. Wasn't that what their request was, which that's
Commissioner, if I could say something
Sure.
about that.
Go
I'd like
ahead.
to say something about both fire departments. The Le Mardi Gras and the Oyster Fest. Those are completely volunteer organizations,
Mhm.
and every profit they turn, they put back into public safety in our community through the fire departments. And, I think that $1,000 increase, because we look at $9,000 for each of those coming up, that's a minuscule compared to what they're providing us in public safety and support in the community.
So Tana, did the Oyster Fest, or is anybody here from the Oyster? Did they request more or? Okay,
What are they budgeted at now?
Sorry, they requested the 10,000. We had 8 in there from last year.
mhm.
And then when we did meet earlier this week, you did ask me to match what we are giving Le Mardi Gras. So that's why I put the 9,000 in there.
Okay,
Seems fair.
that sounds good with me. Let's see, next we have Wings Rescue. Anybody here from Wings Rescue?
And I think that's a reimbursement, isn't it? That we allocate an amount and
Yeah.
then we'll reimburse them up to that amount
Correct.
for any expenses that are
Right.
incurred.
And you need to bring me a ruler with your list you got right here.
Do you want to borrow mine?
Wings, is that 10,000?
No,
Wings is
3,000.
35.
35.
Oh, 35.
I need to get my ruler here.
Do you want mine?
And I think we're good with that. That's the same as it was before. Rockport Cultural Law Arts District. They had asked for a pretty substantial increase, but I think it's a consensus that we're gonna leave them what they were last year.
Right.
Right.
You know, your ruler has a curve in it.
It's a lot of work.
Is everybody all right with leaving them the same?
Yes.
All right, I guess we get down to Keep Aransas County Beautiful. We had them at 5. We're talking about leaving them the same.
Yeah. And I think they said they didn't want to go any higher than
Right.
that.
Correct.
Okay. And we have Seafair that we've had 2,500 on them. Y'all are good with that? Okay.
Yes, sir.
And we have the Hummingbird Festival that we have. I guess at 5,000 on that.
It's 2,500, right?
This damn ruler you got there.
2,500.
Yes,
Yeah.
2,500.
All right. The Bountiful Bowl Pottery Fair.
I did not receive a request this year from them. I left it the same as their request last year in case you wanted to continue that.
How much is that?
But
5,000.
But they haven't requested any reimbursement for their expenses
They
and their
haven't.
events in February. Luis, do you know anything? I tried to call Mary Ellen Neese, but I didn't have a good number for her.
Yes, I spoke with her yesterday, actually, day before yesterday. She has not been well
Oh,
and she's been under treatment. And so if she did not submit a request, it was probably because of that. I do know she is hosting the event and she's planning to host it at the Presbyterian Church on Enterprise Boulevard, and it's always usually in February. And I do know that she would like to market the event. And so I think the $5,000 that you allocated last year to help her market for this coming year, I know she would be very thankful for that.
Do you think it's at the Episcopal Church maybe? Because the
The-
Presbyterian.
Yeah,
Church
the
is
one
right
behind the post office.
Yeah.
Is that
Episcopal, okay.
Episcopal? Yeah. Sorry.
Y'all think I would think we'd leave it on there, but she will need to
Submit a
I-
request.
receive.
I will call her after the meeting, sir, and I'll ask her to make
Okay.
contact
Okay.
with the court.
Sounds good. All right, we have the airport. Mike? And I think we have a question. Is there a difference between what we allocated last year to the airport and the wings over Rockport? Is there a difference in the two functions?
Yes, so the money that's going forward, I think was 10,000 is what we asked for last year.
2024.
Correct. Going forward, the 10,000 seems to me like a good number for the airport for marketing. But Wings Over Rockport is a 501c3. That's
See here?
yeah, Wings Over Rockport is here. They're represented. But that's an air show. It's a long-term marketing process to get to an air show. You don't build one of those in 1 year. So I think they would certainly qualify.
Are you speaking for them or?
No, I'm just telling you what the airport's doing, but
So
I can differentiate.
You're all
if you
right to leave the airport at 10?
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
To leave it at 10 for next year instead of the 15 that Tana had put in.
Right, so we did speak with Mr. Stewart yesterday about this. He did call. The original $10,000 request he thought was for 24. He did not realize that we were discussing 25's budget. So he sent another email after our conversation requesting 15,000 for 2025.
But that is separate from what Mike is talking about,
Yes,
correct?
sir. That is separate from the Wings Over Rockport request, which is
There
25,000.
are actually three requests.
There are three
There's the
requests.
airport, the Wings Over Rockport, and then Warbirds.
I only have 2 requests.
Well, Mr. Stewart is with Warbirds, and just be clear, you don't necessarily have a 501c3, but you operate under somebody else's? Is that correct? Or can I ask him to come up here, Judge? I mean, Commissioner? Are we through,
Yeah.
Mike? I'm sorry.
No, we can, I think we're through with the airport one over here. Come on up, Mr. Stewart.
Because there is some confusion on the part of the public and some of our part too.
Thank you for the opportunity to answer questions. So my name is Cody Stewart, 2304 Shorewood Court, owner of Axe Aviation, and we have done flying since 2020, and we have branded as Warbirds Over South Texas, which will have our third event this November, 2024. So we have 2 funding mechanisms. We have the Axe Aviation Nonprofit Fund that's sponsored through the National Christian Foundation in Houston. It is labeled Axe Aviation Nonprofit Fund so that we can accept charitable donations, but we are still under Axe Aviation for profit for marketing dollars. So there is a legal funding that we can split depending how that happens. And we partner with different 501c3s to come in for the event, whether it be the Commemorative Air Force, the Wasp Museum, that type of thing. So we have strategic partnerships in that regard that all work together to form what you saw on Memorial Day weekend last year, Warbirds Over South Texas.
So the 10,000 for this year, 2024, is really allocated for,
His event.
okay.
Yes, so
So it's under airport, but it's for the fly-in.
Yes, ma'am, correct.
Right.
So 7,000 went for the Memorial Day weekend last year. We were approved with a little bit of confusion. We got it ironed out that we can start our marketing campaign this next week with the 10,000 that was allocated for the 2024 event. And we are performing on what we promised is to self-seed our event to build this thing organically. We have a strong business and foundation backing that fund most of our budget. And now we're using city funds. We were allocated just shy of 20,000 this last go around for 2025 through the city of Rockport. And we think the increase at 15,000 for 2025 is helping us get to our $100,000 budget for next year's event. So y'all are about a third combined to what we raise for these events.
Now, we're still talking about what's on our list as for the airport.
Yes, sir.
Still
Did I help?
confused on all. Seems like we almost have three different groups.
So the
And-
way I can best describe it from my perspective is the airport's a qualified venue. You have two different groups that want to throw two different events at the airport.
Right.
And then the airport has their own marketing because they run the FBO as a business. So our
And their
allocation,
marketing is out of their own fund.
Okay, so.
Oh,
that's-
not the hotel
That's not,
motel.
that's
Correct.
not what's on.
All right.
That's not what's on.
does that help?
I have I'm a little confused now. Now, sir?
Yeah, come
We
up.
asked Mike to come back up so I can understand it better.
No, and the airport advisory board and myself have identified that we need a marketing budget for the airport. And that's what we're asking for.
That is for the airport. budget.
Correct.
And that's 10,000.
Yes, sir. Through from the hot funds, because the airport does, is an avenue that provides into the hotel motel tax, because that's the highway that some people choose to drive into the airport on. So I don't know how to come up with a metric to measure that without polling every single body that comes in, but we know that folks come in and stay the night, and they stay the night here, and they eat at our restaurants and sleep in our hotels, but
Mhm.
I would like a budget of $10,000 for the airport to market.
So that is not on this list then.
Okay.
And I would have to add
Okay.
that to here if you would approve that.
So,
And that would be for 2025.
25, yes, ma'am.
so 771 Aransas County Airport is not the correct title for that.
No, sir, that is for the actual fly-in warbirds for
Yeah,
Mr.
that's,
Stewart.
and
event.
it should be changed to that on the
Yeah.
Budget.
So,
And what do you have on that one? Do you actually have 15,000 on that, Tana?
I'm sorry, say that,
The one that we had as airport that says Warbirds, or do you have 15 on here for that?
I do, yes, sir, for 25's
I
request.
personally think that any of these shouldn't get any more money than any other ongoing festival that we have. So, I mean, we give two of them $9,000 and others less. I don't think we should fund other people more than people that already have a proven track record.
Okay. What would you like me to put in there?
I would say put the 9.
Okay. I can do that.
I don't know what everybody else thinks. They can voice
That's
their
fine with me.
opinion.
I would myself, I mean, these are some big requests there. You explained to me the other day, I guess I have 2 points. One thing, I think if we did anything, we should go 10,000 to everybody this year. Because like I said,
Or
again,
like the Mardi Gras and.
yeah, and because they, like I say, if there's any group, and I don't want to offend anybody, if there's any group in the county, any groups in the county, it's keep Aransas County beautiful, and those two fire departments, they do a lot of, everything to do is through volunteers, and every penny.
Aransas County Beautiful has
Yeah,
already said their.
Yeah, but I mean,
what we've
but
had.
I'm saying those three groups are the true groups that really, if you want to say, there's all their profit goes back into bettering the community.
So are you
and-
suggesting that the fire departments, we raise them to 10,000?
Yes,
for
sir.
their festivals?
And these others.
I don't have a problem.
And the others also, the airport,
Okay,
the Warbirds and Wings over Rockport.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
okay, I'm not good with that. I'm good with the 10,000 for Oyster Fest. And I'm good with Le Mardi Gras, because those are proven entities, like you just said. I'm not good with that for Wings over Rockport, because Warbirds over South Texas, I don't know how many fly-ins there have been, maybe 3. Okay, but there have been one other fly-in or something. So there is a proven track record there. I can understand the 10,000. I also understand that Wings Over Rockport has plans to put on an air show, I believe in 2025, maybe 2026, whenever. But so far, they have not put on any kind of an air event. And so they are not a proven entity. And I'm very reluctant to fund something because it might do something. I want to see something that has been successful before we put money to do it.
Well, Wings, I guess if we get Mr. Brown or Miss Brown to come speak. Okay. But I just want to reiterate, well, I know for people's view, there's two different animals. They're not apples and apples when we
Right.
talk about them.
I understand.
Hey, my name's Katrina Brown. I'm the president of Wings Over Rockport. I live at 205 Forest Hills in Rockport. Yes, we are a brand new 501c3. We have only been incorporated a year. We formed the 501c3 as a scholarship program and to ultimately put on an air show, an aerial event. I don't want to get into the weeds here, but it is very different than a
I
fly-in.
understand.
Okay, just want to make sure that you know. We are in the process of getting together seed money because they are very expensive to put together. We do not have an air show today. I'll be very honest with you. We do not have an air show today. We put in our request for hot funds at the direction of the board for $25,000, which was 5 months ago. We didn't know how much we would have today. We had not finished our research and have still not finished our research. And we didn't want to miss an opportunity. I mean, very frankly, we didn't want to miss an opportunity. So we put in the money. Do we need $25,000 today? I'll be very honest with you. The answer is no. We do not need $25,000 today. We would be thrilled if you would contribute to our organization towards marketing, towards our show that we will have maybe in 2025, hopefully in 2025, maybe not until 2026. At that point, of course, we will come back for 2026. But we are new. We are working on our seed money to get enough seed money so we can go to our sponsors and say, look, this is what we have, you know, et cetera. And that's where we are today.
Do you have a plan for 2025 if you were to get the $10,000? Do you have a promotional plan or something for 2025, how you would try to?
Yes, we do. We've been in conversations with Carl Hatman. Our marketing and promotional budget will primarily be for digital. Our research has shown that print and TV radio ads are not effective in this space. This is according to the International Council of Air Shows, which we attend their conference every year. So we have been in conversations with Carl Hatman. It runs about $1,000 a month.
Will y'all be attending air show conferences?
Yes, we will.
Well, I would suggest we could put something on here or we could leave it off. And if at such time as they get ready, they could come back to us and we can amend our
I think that's
budget
fine.
if we see fit at that time.
Fine. Yes, we're happy. Like I said, we put a stake in the ground because of what we knew at the time.
Yeah.
And
Sounds
things change. And I appreciate anything that you would be able to throw our way. Yeah.
But I guess I'm gonna go back. The money, would you be using that money this year to do your promotional, or how would you be doing it?
As soon as we have a show. As soon as we have a show that we know we're going to be able to execute on.
So I guess.
And that is not today.
Well, I guess my question is, if we were to budget for 2025 and hold it, if they have a show in 2025, could we allot it at that time?
We could,
It'd be an earmark for that, because if the show happens in 2025.
And there's no money,
Yeah.
right?
That would be if we could do that, would that be fair?
that's fine with me. What, you got a suggestion of amount?
I would think $10,000, like you were saying, that, would be a good seed money and see what happens.
How are we doing on hotel motel tax? What do we have left?
From what we have on anticipated revenues and what we've budgeted already, we're probably about $300,000 still in the black on it.
Okay.
Now, if all of those we're looking at using for the aquarium.
Okay, I would agree with Commissioner Dubnik, and if we set that aside and you get to the point that you are using it, we will have it set aside for you. But to say we're awarding it now and it's only 7,000 or maybe it's 30,000, you come back to us at that time with a more specific figure
fine.
based on facts.
Now, my husband would like, who is not on the board of directors of Wings Over Rockport, but he acts as an advisor. because he is extremely knowledgeable in aviation events and aviation, et cetera. And I think he'd like to make a few
Yes, ma'am.
comments.
Thank you. Jerry Brown, 205 Forest Hills. Commissioner Russo, the same numbers that you used to prove that Warbirds over South Texas is a viable entity are the same numbers that prove that Wings over Rockport are a viable entity. They were one and the same people doing them. Okay, so please don't say we're untried. We're 4 years of doing this. We know pretty much exactly what we're doing.
I'm saying the entity, Jerry.
Ma'am?
I'm saying the entity has not brought forward a project,
Yes, it has.
That's it.
It's done 4 fly-ins here in this area.
not Wings
At-
over
at
Rockport.
No,
Okay,
that's right.
I think that's a detail without a distinction, quite bluntly. Now, as far as Mike's $10,000, that goes to things like National Business Aircraft Association Convention. It goes to places where we can market this county, this city to the people that fly big or relatively large jets. That's who we want to get to. You've sat in on the meetings where we've
I
tried to
have
figure out how to
proposed
reach
some
those
of
people.
those ideas myself in those meetings when
ma'am.
I was on the airport advisory board. But as you hopefully heard, when the allocation was made for 2024 by the auditor's office, although it says Aransas County Airport, it was Aransas County Airport / to Wings over Warbirds over South Texas. Now, going forward, Mike is going to send something to the auditor's office to get funding that would be under hotel motel tax that would do those things, to put in those magazines that we've talked about, to reach
Okay.
the corporate clients and the others that we really want to bring in here.
Exactly.
But this particular $10,000 for 2024, the auditor's office has explained, was earmarked for the Warbirds over South Texas.
We need to pull
It
those
just wasn't
threads
clear.
apart some, however that.
I
needs to
think
happen.
that's going to happen.
Yeah. Now, this goes to air shows in general. Cody puts on a show that specializes in warbirds. That's about 1/3 of a typical air show. We have home builds, we have stole drag, we have helicopters, we have the amateur aerobatics people and things like that. We're going to expand this thing to be broad spectrum. There's also bringing in the active military demonstrations and things like that. Our geography is going to limit us in getting a real jet team, i.e. Blue Angels, Thunderbirds, that kind of stuff. But we have acts that are extremely popular that don't require all the space. The V-22 and the F-35C are 2 of them that can do an act inside of a small city block and make it and have the crowd on their feet. We're going to bring in all of that,
That would
everything.
be exciting.
And it will. Now, there again, I asked Gene, how many rooms can we get on a given night in this county? It's going to be interesting. We might just find out what that limit is. Anyway, okay, that's all I have. If anybody
Thank
has any questions for me.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
I think the consensus is to leave the 10,000 in, and if they get something going, it'll be there. If not,
Okay,
it won't get spent.
so just to clarify, then we are going to do 10,000 for all 3
Separately.
Yeah,
separately.
I would think, just from listening to the deal on Mike's, I think you need to have legal to look and make sure, well, really with any of these groups, we need to scrutinize how they spend the money, that it's the way that our money can legally be spent,
Mhm.
so.
Especially on a group that's new and to this particular venue.
All
So
right.
can we put in 10 with the idea that unless we hear differently, it will go for the airport itself to be marketed?
That's what she was.
Okay. That's good. I just want to be sure.
All right, next one we have is the Fulton Convention Center. I had talked to them about this. I'm gonna suggest that we give them from a 25,000 to put them on the 4% list. So what do y'all have to say?
Why aren't we doing that?
It's legal for us to give us a convention center. We're giving it we've given money to multiple other areas that probably don't bring in any more people than the convention center does.
Do we have any kind of numbers or marketing study to know who's using the Fulton Convention Center, if it's locals or if it's people that are coming from outside the area?
I think you should know that if you've ever been to it.
I have
I
been. to
mean, I've
things
been to
that-
lots of things where there were 400 people there that most of them came from out of town.
Okay, most of the things that I've been to there are all from local people.
Yeah, well, there's
I've-
fishing,
Yeah.
fishing tournaments, gun shows.
I know
I
they
mean-
would have been here. We would have asked, I didn't know it was gonna be either, but I try to make a lot of their council meetings and they give reports pretty regularly. And you're very hard pressed to find an opening because they always continually, even during the
Right.
week, they have outside groups even coming in to meet. It's used, I mean, it gives a good return, I think, on the investment for the community. And it goes back, like I said, if you were to compare this to some of the other places we give money,
Yeah.
I think it's a viable thing. Oh, and, maybe we could ask them to come give a report from the
I'd like
convention
that.
center.
Well, and I had told them that they needed to work something up on it, but
Good.
I don't have a
Yeah.
doubt that it's gonna come up and compete with our top places.
I would
myself.
agree with you.
I've been to plenty of things that most of the people there came from out of town.
I
I
guess
would,
I'm
I
not
would
getting
agree with that
invited.
statement.
I guess I'm not getting invited to those. I just get invited by the locals.
Well, they've had comments where they ask people because they've had trouble with their sign there, and the sign isn't working. And they used to put a daily who was meeting there, where the
Yeah,
group
they
was
did.
from out of town, and the sign quit, and there are citizens in Fulton complaining because they go by there every day and there's all kinds of cars, but they don't know who's meeting and they want to know what's going on. But it's, because it's usually where are these people from?
So are you saying 25,000?
Yeah, that's my suggestion, and, we could go through the year and get them to give us data, and maybe next year we'll try to bring them up to a percentage.
Well, we have more opportunity before we set this budget. I mean, we can put in 25,000, but ask them if they could just bring us something
Sure.
in the next couple of weeks.
And I think the gal that handles it was out of town or something, and she said she'd get them
Okay,
to work
sounds
on it
good.
when I got back. And anybody else? There's a lot of quiet people. This is the
There are a
quietest
lot.
group we've had in here in a long time.
I want to mention something unless you have some other issues.
I would kind of like to have some input on what the people in here think about us going in with. I see two that I know they're what they think, but other people, what do you think about us going in with Rockport's marketing with their money? I mean, any comments or?
So we just do whatever we want to with it.
All right, go ahead.
It's not like we haven't tried yet. That's.
It has that aspect of being a novel idea we haven't tried yet, and it just might work.
Mhm.
We'll never know till we try it.
I think putting Miss Stewart on the spot, if I could, she sent out an email to the chamber members about this, didn't you? To the board. Would you mind speaking though? I mean, I thought you brought up some you looked at the positives. If you would you be, I don't want to force you to do it. Would that be okay, Commissioner?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
It's just a few
we're
minutes.
talking about hot funds.
Yeah.
Just a second.
Move the microphone down a little, Shelley.
Okay, this is what I sent to the board of directors. As many of you may heard, the city has implemented some changes, including a new approach to the collection and distribution of hot funds. The city will now handle this function internally and will no longer allocate these funds to the RF Chamber of Commerce for community marketing purposes. This is not a negative development. It aligns with how most communities manage these funds. The chamber will continue to receive hot funds to operate and manage the visitor center. This amount may change slightly, but will be enough to operate as we are now. In the long run, as our community grows, this change will be beneficial. The chamber will continue to focus on member benefits, exceptional programs, new events, and more. Our chamber remains strong on all fronts, including financially, and this will not change. This is the message that I asked the board to share. The city's decision is not a negative development. Contrary to what some may believe, the chamber is not upset by this change. We will continue to receive funds to operate, and bringing this function in-house will ultimately benefit the community as a whole. This approach aligns with how most other communities handle hot funds distribution and is a more effective method overall.
It's a good letter.
So that's our stance on that. But we, like I said, we do need money to operate the visitor center. But other than that, we're good.
Thank you.
The good thing that one thing that we need to remember is if these marketing are successful, you know, it adds more and more revenue to that. If it's not successful, it takes revenue away from the hot funds. And, you know, all you gotta do is just look at the beach park and every place around here and see that marketing is working. Because not all these people are here because of word of mouth. A lot of them are. So the hot tax funds are something that it is itself successful, and it will continue to be successful if you run it correctly. But if we start fussing or fighting amongst each other over a pot, and we'll all lose. But we just need to keep that in mind. It needs to be united front. I agree with that. But how we do it is yet to be discovered. Okay.
Right.
You still got another question?
Go ahead.
I just wanted to point out something. To regenerate the same amount of hot tax for, that if you give $10,000, you need to generate $142,900 in room revenue just to keep the hot tax even. And so when you're considering these different events, I would like you to really think about that, because otherwise we're not regenerating the money that we, you know, so need in these hotels in town.
Would you mind repeating that? You said 100.
If you allocate $10,000 in hot tax to regenerate that amount of hot tax, we need to have $142,900 in room revenues in the hotels. So, you know, if you're saying you're bringing 100 people in, that isn't going to get that. So it's a pretty significant number. Just want to make that point so everybody thinks about that.
Jatine.
Anything else? Jatine?
Along those lines, the 142,000, I mean, just to put it into our perspective, that's probably more like about 15 to 1,800 room nights that a hotel would have to see in order to capture that kind of revenue. And so it's just something to put. I know you guys see the bottom number of here's what the taxes are collected, but at the end of the day, state law says we have to have heads in beds. And it's great to give to a lot of entities. I know we feel like, hey, if it's thing, I like this cause or I like this one, but at the end of the day, state law says you got to put heads in beds. And a lot of what I'm hearing today is like, we've got to have accountability. I haven't, for today, I haven't seen anybody present any numbers of like, here's what our visitor counts, here's how many hotel nights, all that. That's why I tell you, like this whole thing with geofencing, you could have five attorneys look at it. There's other bigger cities, communities doing this. So it's not like, hey, we got to have our attorney. Other attorneys in bigger cities have already looked at it.
We actually have a law that's came up in the last 60 days that was brought to our attention.
Yeah, and there's probably nothing in there. I mean, if other people are doing this to validate that, no, I understand.
You're a private citizen. You don't have to look at the stuff that we do. So.
But I'm telling you, this is where you're going to get validation on everyone's request to say, okay, how many people, when you geofence their event and you realize how many people came for what event, where they came from, and they weren't just locals or people within the 30 to drivable distance within a day. That'll give you a different perspective. And that's my urgency, that if you can vet it and you're able to do geofencing, I urge you to look at that. And the marketing thing, again, we've looked at it, and you can piecemeal a lot of this marketing efforts, the Warbirds, the Art Center, they're all going to do this marketing. But again, nothing, I've been privy to a lot of ads that say, here, we're having this festival, dine here, shop here, stay here, right? They put the tagline at the bottom. You've got a QR code. It points you to stay at a hotel, dine at one of their restaurants, or shop in one of their shops. None of these entities have that as their marketing. And that's one of the things that if I was sitting in your position, that's the first thing I would ask is, what are you doing to get that restaurant business, that shop some business, and that hotel some business? And that's what I want you commissioners to keep in mind. It's easy to hand out money. And if I had that, I would do it too. But we are bound by state law that says hot taxes have to be used for specific allowable expense. And I urge you to kind of keep the thing of ROI. Is it better to combine these efforts, take the money, and you do a better job, you hire a better professional? And then if the county wants to meet, I'll put my money where my mouth is. I'll contribute $10,000 to the city person they hire if the county will match my $10,000. And we'll make it incentive based. That board and that city will oversee this person, and I will guarantee you $10,000 of their incentive based program if you're willing to match it. But we got to do something better. We have to. It's a nice thing to distribute money, but you got to make sure the return's there. Thank you.
I think that in some ways, and thank you, Shatine, we do ask for proof that they are giving us results. And I think some of the entities that we've seen where they are driving the number of room nights up, we're allocating them more funds. The ones where we cannot really see where they're generating room nights at all, we are not giving them the money, the funding that they would like. And if you think it's easy to give money, I would question, because you were in the meeting on Tuesday and you've been in this one, it is not easy at all. The other thing, a couple of things I'd like to mention. Jennifer Day, who is the executive director for the Cultural Arts District, sent an email to everyone on the court. I don't know that this is a problem. She's not here today, but she was including a link to a marketing study and program that the city of Corpus Christi has. And I looked through that earlier today. I think she sent it out yesterday, perhaps. And there are some things that are good in there. One of the things I would recommend is that we and the city take a look at the marketing survey that's already been done on tourism by Corpus Christi, because we're pretty close to Corpus Christi, and what they have to offer, we have to offer. So we can use their ideas, their suggestions, their data, and implement them in any way to augment what we're doing here in the county. And I think that's a great idea, and I thank Jennifer for sending that. The other thing I noticed, and I mentioned the other day, I used to work for the Convention and Visitors Bureau in Corpus Christi for several years. And I started out as controller and worked my way up. And when I left, I was the CFO there. We brought in the Lexington Carrier. We set it up as a museum under the CVB at the time. And later we divided that and set up two separate boards. So I have a little bit of background about marketing, a tourism venue spot. We also had something called the Coastal Bend Tourism Council. And I know Diane Probst was active with that. There was a lady out of Aransas Pass named Kay Wolf, who was active in this community of tourism for years. There were people from Ingleside and Port Aransas. And we were very inclusive because we knew that to really market our area, even in Corpus Christi, people wouldn't just come there for a long period of time. They'd come for a day or two. But if we showed them how much was in the Coastal Bend, they would come and stay. So when I was at a Tropical Texas event a few months ago in Corpus Christi, they passed out someone who's with Visit Corpus Christi, what is the new name of the CVB there. They passed out these little booklets. And they said they're going to produce more booklets. But one is birding guide. outdoor guide, fishing guide. And wasn't I surprised when I looked through the birding guide, saw the different birds that come through here, saw about the festivals. Rockport isn't mentioned. The Hummingbird Fest isn't mentioned. When I looked at the outdoor guide, they even mentioned, well, they mentioned Mustang Island State Park, but they mentioned Goose Island State Park, but they don't mention anything for Rockport, Aransas Pass, Ingleside. Fishing guide, once again, nothing. So I'm not exactly sure what Corpus Christi is doing, other than eliminating apparently anything of the North Bay. I think there were maybe 1 or 2 mentions of Portland. But we could talk to them and see about maybe getting in on what they're already putting in place. They have more marketing dollars. The other thing I saw when I looked through that marketing study was the number of staff members that the CVB has. And when I talked to Vanessa a few weeks ago about the idea of hiring a marketing person for the city, I told her my concern was you hire one staff person, maybe that person really knows the area. Maybe they know marketing, but they don't know the area, whatever. It'll take them a few months to get up to speed. Plus you have to post and hire the position. Then we'll be into the new year and they will need to develop a marketing plan. And I know that Luis and some of the others of you in here who develop marketing plans that are quite detailed will tell you that you don't come up with that in a month or 2. It takes months to bring that together so that this new person can maybe have a great marketing plan for 2026, but not for 2025. And what are all of our groups in town doing for 2025? And the other thing is, if you have one staff person, pretty soon you'll have a department. And I'm sorry Vanessa left, but she said, yes, she saw that this would become a department. That is not a good way to spend hotel motel tax. And I believe, and Alma's here and she is the treasurer over the distribution of these taxes, that we encourage the people who receive our allocations not to spend this on salaries and administrative fees, but to put it to marketing. Let them come up with other things, member dues, donations, whatever, to pay those other things. Let our allocations go for marketing. Alma, would you like to speak to that?
No. And that is true. So actually they're supposed to do it nothing but marketing. Nothing but. There is a clause that like a collection person that collects the taxes can be paid, but this marketing person and then soon the department that is going to create is going to be well over $100,000 probably before you get going. So I do see that as a problem or not properly using the money for the marketing.
Thank you.
So I think we're through with all of this stuff. Anybody got a motion?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Castleline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick.
Aye.
Thank you.
Adjourn.